Welcome to Tekedia AI Business Masterclass. I'm Dubisi Ekekwe. We're going to begin with a conversation on Grand AI Convergence. And looking at the Grand AI Convergence, we focus on business of numbers and computing, essentially going through a very brief history and the motivation why AI has become what it is today. Of course, this is very, very important because if we want to have a very, very good understanding of the application of AI in the market system, it's also very key for us to see and understand why and how AI became very, very impactful and became really very, very useful in the market system. And for us to do that, I'll take you to my secondary school education. And in that secondary school education, we can now see how the evolution of AI began from the concept of natural philosophy. In my first year in the senior secondary school education level, my teacher came into the class the very first course I had in physics. And that was just at the end of the junior secondary, we just started into what they call in Nigeria SS1. SS1 essentially says you are now in the senior part of the secondary school education, having completed the first 3 years of the junior secondary school education. He said, welcome. And this is physics class. And you just finished and passed your integrated science examination in the junior secondary school examination. Now, you are going to now specialize in that component, a critical part of it in integrated science called physics as a subject of its own. Explain that before the end of the 18th century, that the material component of the universe was studied at one aspect of culture called natural philosophy. Explain that, but over time, they felt that it was very, very necessary to break those studies into two broad categories. They have what they called biological science and what they have also called physical science. In the physical science, you have physics and the chemistry. In the biological science, you have biology. And these two areas we are all interwoven, integrated with mathematics, the science of numbers. Of course, you know that physics is the study of matter with relationship to energy. Chemistry is the study of substances that have properties. Then biology, the study of life, broken into zoology and botany. Was really very, very fascinating. Understanding where that natural philosophy was all going. Of course, we went through secondary school. Then in the university, it was the time to take a course on logic and philosophy. As an engineering student, the professor came in one afternoon and told us that he was so excited to take us on a journey. He asked us the question that day, what is the material component of the universe? What is this world made up of? He was trying to take us into a deeper level of understanding, far bigger, far deeper than what we had been used in secondary school. It was a very, very great question because it was just difficult to have an answer. What is the world made up of? What is the component of the universe? There were so many answers. The professor noted. Thales said that the world was made up of water. Heraclitus said that the world was made up of fire. But that day, I like what he said about Pythagoras, the guy that gave us the Pythagoras theorem, that in the right angle triangle, that if you take the individual squares of the opposite and adjacent, you sum them together, you get a square of the hypotenuse. So the world is made up of numbers. That means at the beginning that everything in the world is nothing but numbers. And that implication is that if everything in the world is made up of numbers, it means that the business of humanity is nothing but number. And if the business of humanity is nothing but number, it means that the application, the computing, the manipulation, the understanding of numbers will now help us to understand the world we live. If you understand the numbers in your business, if you understand the numbers in your profession, if you understand the numbers around your environment, you have a better understanding of that particular situation, the business, the environment, the ecosystem. Everything is nothing but numbers. The world is numbers. Everything is number. Everything. And if everything is number, the computation, the manipulation, the computing becomes the business of humanity. And any person who does better in computing and making sense of numbers will win the future. We have a competitive advantage and will be in a better position to advance in the wealth of nations. So that is how it all started. That the world now got itself into a race of numbers. And that has always been trying how to compute, how to add, subtract, and make sense of numbers. The time of abacus, the time of analytical engine, the time of slide rule, we have been trying to build better systems that can make sense of numbers. That's what it takes, because the world is nothing but numbers. And efforts have been put at a huge level to make sense of numbers. And there are so many iterations, so many evolutions of how men and women have been working to make sense of numbers. Because if the world is nothing but numbers, we are all going to advance if we build better systems that make sense of numbers. And that's what it takes. And they built many, many systems, different forms and shapes, because they wanted to understand the world of numbers. And things started changing when we now move from the use of vacuum tubes. In electrical engineering, there are things that you will learn about passive devices, non-passive devices, and active devices. These are devices that can actually amplify signals and do many great things. Transistors change the world when Shockley and his team in Bell's laboratory, just was 1940s, invented transistor. Another invention of transistor was a very quintessential moment in the history of computing, because transistors now gave rise to many new domains in better computational systems. As the world was celebrating that invention of transistor, there was also something that happened. Von Neumann created a store program concept, offering the opportunity for us to now store data right in computational systems. It now took us into a new dawn, a new world. But the greatest of all happened when Robert Noyce and Jack Kirby independently invented the integrated circuits. The invention of integrated circuits basically putting so many transistors in the same wafer, the same device, was one of the most remarkable moments in the history of science and technology. That gave a Nobel Prize in physics, because it changed our world from the original small-scale integration, where you have just few transistors, to what we have now, ultra modern large-scale integration. We have billions of transistors in those integrated circuits. Of course, with those microprocessors, the world has been changed Now having them changing, transforming the way we live in so many ways. These transform the world. These change the world. These revolutionize the world. And the world has never been the same. So when those transistors gave rise to better computational system by giving us the opportunity to be integrated at scale, especially complementary metals also semiconductor, what they call the CMOS transistor. There was also something magical that happened around that 1970s. Robert Noyce and Jacobi had invented this, right, 1957. It was what happened in just mid-1970 when Bill Gates of Microsoft invented the Windows. With Paul Allen, they invented the Windows and now turning computation, no more the business of enterprises and companies, into something that families, individuals, homes can use. The invention of Windows, personalized computing, made it so possible that you could just get in and buy yours. It's no more the business of IBM. It's no more the business of Xerox. It's no more the business of the big multinational companies. Because even homes and families could now have access to the devices. And if they do, beautiful things happen. The time has passed. It's no more just Microsoft. New companies came in, like Apple, Google, Facebook, and possibly even your own company. Around the world, we are now churning out data because of these computational system. And that data has so many characteristics and features. They are changing in velocity. They are changing in variety. They are changing in value, volume, and they are really, really big. The veracity, volume, the velocity, so many ways. The churning tons. Just imagine how much data you produce every month on your smartphone. Imagine how much data you produce just for talking. Imagine all the data you produce by sharing on social media. Imagine how these data systems are changing. These things now are nothing, remember. As Pythagoras said, they capture the essence of you, the essence of your community, and the essence of your business. Because the data you are producing inside that data system, you have the data, and that data defines nothing but about your company, about you. The question here is that how do you make sense of that data? Remember, it has always been how to understand that data. Because if the world is made up of numbers, it means that those who understand, who make sense of data, who have the better tools to compute and bring better insights in numbers will win. And that is now the big question. You got that data. Can you refine that data? Can you make sense of that data? That is it. The conversation. And that is where now AI and other new species of machines and technology systems are coming to help us make sense of that data that we have.